Good evening, and once again, welcome to Candidates Night. It's great to see such a big crowd. Usually we don't have such a big crowd. This evening, we will first hear from our representatives from both sides of the recall question of the ballot. Each speaker will be allowed a 10-minute presentation. Following the recall presentations, candidates will individually take the floor to inform you, the voters, why they are best qualified for the elected position of selectmen as representatives of the citizens of the town of Templeton, and what they will strive to do to make Templeton a better community to live and work in. Each candidate has the option of taking questions following their presentations. If a candidate elects not to take a question, they will just go right to their seats. I request that you keep your questions constructive. Keep it civil. All questions for the candidates will be channeled through me. Please remember, the Candidates Night is offered to allow you to gather the information you need to take to the polls on February 6th in order to make an educated decision. It is not a time for hash and trash, and it will not be allowed. We also have Carol Harris with us this evening, and she will explain the best way possible. There are a few legal ramifications that we have to be careful of, but she will explain the ballot to you. She will also have sample ballots with her, so you can view the sample ballots. With all that being said, let us start this evening's presentations. I would like to call on Isaac Matson, representing the pro recall. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I stand here representing 975 voters in the town of Templeton who believe that we need a change in the direction that we are going as a town. Tonight, and by extension, the election that will happen on February 6th have been made possible by the civic engagement of a group of distinguished people. Those people are part of the Let the People Speak Incorporated Community Action Committee. And what we are doing is it has spearheaded the movement to recall 2 of our town's selectmen, working tirelessly to uphold the will of the people. And as you can see, the people have spoken. The recall is happening. 975 people put their signatures beside the petition to recall the 2 selectmen, namely Julie Farrell and Robert Mitchell. And during the rest of my time tonight, I am going to briefly touch upon the issues that has led this group to going forward with the recall and down the path where we have come to today. Let the People Speak Incorporated feels that the 2 selectmen that we are recalling are not making decisions that are in the best interest of the town. And there are 3 specific issues that I'm going to touch on tonight. They are going to be as follows. Issue number 1, lack of communication and a refusal to work with the entire select board. Now let me ask you all a question. A simple and pertinent question. What happens when you cannot communicate with someone else? What happens when you cannot speak to them? What happens when you cannot work together in a common goal and to get work done? What happens is the organization, the group, or the situation that you're a part of falls apart. We, as humans, have faults. We all have them. We have good and we have bad. We all make mistakes. We all say things that we wish we hadn't. We all do things that are wrong. What makes us even more human is the willingness to say that we are wrong, to work together as a group, and continue forward on a path to a better situation, a better life. We, as the recall coming, the Let the People Speak, believe that this is what needs to happen in our town. We must have a better means of communication between the select board. So, in order to do that, we have put forward the recall in order to allow new candidates to come to the fore in order that they can facilitate better communication, better working together upon the select board, so that we as a town can move in a positive direction, in a direction that I know we all agree that we need to go in a positive and a more informed direction. So that is the first issue that the candidates for Let the People Speak Incorporated feel strongly about. Secondly, the issue that will come up is the ineffective and irresponsible use of taxpayer money. Now let me ask you all this. Is it effective for us as a town to hire 3 law firms to represent us, and all the while saying that it is more cost effective for you as the taxpayer? I mean, it is a simple deduction that hiring 3 firms versus hiring 1 firm is a much more expensive prospect than we otherwise would have already had. Why not stick with the status quo? Why not stay with the organization? So why not stay with the law firm that was willing to work with us, that we already had precedent working with? Why should we put them to the side and then move into a situation where we, in the future, must pay for 3 firms, 3 different expenses versus that single expense? The candidates that Let the People Speak Incorporated supports feel strongly that this is an issue that uses your taxpayers, the taxpayers' money ineffectively, and this is a point that they feel, and the Recall Coming organization feels very strongly about, and that has propelled us into this situation where we have gone forward with this recall. The third issue that I'm going to be addressing tonight is plain and simple. Let the people speak. Is it morally and ethically right to deny the people, the citizens of the town of Templeton, the right to speak in a public meeting? Is it? No. This town, no, this country was founded on a right to freedoms. Men and women have both fought and died for these freedoms. They both, and throughout the history of this country, our ancestors have sacrificed greatly to bring us to the point we are today. No, I'm not saying this is America's restarting. I'm not saying something of this nature. What I am saying, though, is that our nation was founded on the freedom of speech. We all have the right to speak our minds. We all have the right to discuss an issue that pertains to us. We should all have the right to speak in a public meeting. Just like you're all going to have the chance tonight to ask questions of the candidates. We should all have that right, all the time. And that is why the recall coming is coming. That is why Let the People Speak Incorporated supports this issue so strongly that they feel that we need a recall to change the candidates that we have in place today. Now, the candidates of Let the People Speak Incorporated feel that this is a major issue and one that they will not endorse. They will not let this happen on their watch. They will let the people speak. Now, as you can see from these issues that have been brought forward tonight, the town of Templeton is moving towards the point of recall. These are the issues that have forced us into making a recall. Change is needed, unfortunately. I do not like saying that. I like seeing the status quo stay the status quo. I like seeing us work out our issues together and move forward. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to do that. We are past that point. Because of this, a change of leadership on the Board of Selectmen is needed. In closing, I would like to urge all of you to go to the polls on February 6th. I don't care which way you vote. It's your civic duty to go out there and vote. It's your civic duty to be involved. You're doing that civic duty right now by coming here to this meeting. You're listening to us speak, you're going to be fielding questions against what we say. Now, go forward to February 6th being an informed voter, a voter who is able to make decisions wisely, understand the issues that are at hand, and make sure that when you cast that ballot, you don't regret it later. Now, in conclusion, Let the People Speak fully supports its two candidates, Virginia Wilder and Patrick Mullins. Remember, vote for the candidate who will let the people speak. Thank you very much, and I'm not sure, am I going to be fielding, or are questions going to be fielded against me or just the candidates?
Yeah, we can take a few questions, I believe. It wasn't.
I wasn't sure. So, it's your choice.
Go ahead.
I have a
Sir.
question.
Sure.
Why only 2 candidates recalled? Why not all 4?
All four?
All 4?
There's 5 candidates on the Board of
Or
Selectmen.
5 then?
At this point, the recall is directed specifically at 2 selectmen. That does not mean in the future that there might not be other recalls. I cannot say that. I cannot say that.
Why not all at once?
Why not all at once?
Yeah. You got 2, you can take the rest.
At this point, the recall that is directed specifically at the town selectmen, the reason why we are recalling them is because at the point that we took out the papers to recall,
What's the point?
at the time, there was a certain legal limit that we had to take before we could take out papers to recall them. So, one of the selectmen that the committee was considering recalling was not legal, we were not legally able to recall him at that point. That is why we only took out papers for 2.
Bob Dennis.
I mean, you talk about open government, so I guess my question would be is, it would seem in the past with the other, talk about changing law firms, that, you know, some elected officials weren't able to get their questions answered, not even ask the questions a lot of times. And, you know, I remember talking to you about that question myself, and there was no recall.
Yeah.
And if you're going for open government, why didn't you have a recall at that point?
At that point, because there was not a group of citizens willing to go forward with the recall. Remember, I am only a representative of 975 citizens. I am not here.
No, I mean, it's more open now than it was, so I'm just wondering, as far as being able to access legal, so it's a more open government than you probably ever had before. So I guess my question would be is your group hoping to revert back to where you can ask
That is something
the questions? I mean, you're speaking for them,
we're
so-
opening it up to make it more accessible for the public, yes. But at the same time, I'm not saying we were reverting back to something that was back in the 90s, which, by the way, I was probably still in my diapers. So, I mean, that has nothing, I mean, that has nothing pertinent to me. What I see
I'm saying a
is
few
what's
years
happening.
back, when we had legal questions, there was a lot of boards out there that couldn't get an answer.
True. And what,
And now you can, so I'm wondering,
which,
the people you support, which I'm sure you must have talked to them, are they supporting?
Can't hear back here.
Are you supporting going back to where you can't get all your answers? You know, questions to your legal
at,
matters that, you know, you want answered to run your board properly. I guess that's my question.
okay, I see what you're getting at. I don't believe we're going to go back to a form where we're not going to be able to get questions answered. To my knowledge, we've always had, I mean, there's been a few, but at the same time, if there was an issue back then, a recall should have been dealt with. It didn't happen.
Well, I mean,
It happened now. That's,
well, no, I mean, if the board changed, and it seemed like it changed.
Bob, that's good. Mr. Dennis?
My name is Wilford Dennis. I'm curious, do you feel that at the public open meeting, that correct parliamentary procedure was not followed? I used to teach parliamentary procedure, and as far as I could see, parliamentary procedures were properly followed. Now, if you think they were not followed, would you give me an example of when they were not followed? And your explanation, and maybe a little bit of clarification on the what section of Robert's rules or the town rules that they were not.
I understand what you're saying.
Well, please.
Robert Rules of Order, and I've had some experience with them, I do not believe they were violated. What I do believe, it was morally and ethically wrong to not allow citizens of this town to speak when they wanted to.
Please answer the question.
I said, I do not believe Robert's Rules of Orders was violated. So I have no section to point you to, sir.
Well, they weren't violated. Why are we criticizing people for following them?
What I'm saying here, sir, is the fact that just because we have guidelines in place and we follow them, does not mean that they are always morally and ethical in that situation, which at that time, people were not allowed to speak.
And ethics were violated.
My mindset, in my opinion,
No.
yes. And in the opinion of 975 of your fellow townspeople.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Isaac.
Thank you very much.